Construction project planning and scheduling. In this video, I'm going to cover the difference between planning and scheduling and how you merge those two together. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for both and some really key concepts that I really hope that you remember in all of your efforts to plan a construction project. So if you're into that, please stay with us. Okay, so let me talk to you about these two terms. I'm not trying to get too technical, and I don't need anybody to start using this word or that. I'm just being very technical and detailed about what the terms mean, right? A schedule is kind of a wish list, okay? It's the demand side of the equation, right? When you have a schedule, it's really like, when were you scheduled to be here? When are you scheduled to finish? What is on the schedule and what is the contractual schedule, right? When we're talking about that, we're mainly talking about what is the start date, what is the end date, right? What are some key milestones in between that can be tracked, and how can we get this project done for the shortest overall time? So this is, like I said, the demand side of the equation. This is the client asking for these deadlines to be met. Now, what the industry typically does when they just have a schedule and they don't have a production plan is that you'll start to see, and this would be in CPM, but you'll see a work breakdown structure that literally starts to stack all these activities to fit it within the overall total project duration. It's just a wish list. A lot of times there's trade burdening and trade stacking in here. It's not good. And so if we look at schedules myopically, only from the standpoint of what does the client need or want and what milestones are we supposed to hit, we will start to head in the direction of really overburdening people. This has consequences to it, right? Because when you start to trade burden, when you start to trade stack, when you start to rush and push and panic, bring out too many materials, when you increase work in progress above the capacity of resources, then what happens every time is you don't trend this direction, you actually trend out here, and your project will end up being late. This is the biggest problem in construction today. It literally is the biggest problem. That, and construction companies don't do a lot of training anymore, right? We can't blame it on the workers, the foremen, the trade partners any longer. It's the stupidity of rushing and pushing and panicking that get us in trouble because we're only focused on a schedule and not a production plan. So let me talk to you about what a production plan is, okay? So a production plan is the focus of what is possible, right? So this is what is possible. The other thing that you could say is that this is the supply side of the equation, right? So this is what we're actually able to accomplish. Let me just draw this in a quick way here. Let's say that you have one trade partner and there's 4 different zones. Well, that trade partner, let's just say hypothetically, can do a 3-day tack time with a 1-day overlap, and that is the production rate that they can hit unless their crew is modified or they prefabricate or they design something differently or some other dial is turned, right? This is their production. This is what's possible. This is what we're able to supply under normal circumstances. So the idea is to align what our production can be with the overall schedule. Now, I'm going to show you how you merge these two together, and it's quite fantastic. But first, let me tell you what would happen if you only focused on a production plan without mixing the demand side of the equation in as well. So if you just go and ask each trade partner, hey, what do you want to do, or what is your ideal production, then what will happen here, and this is not good, by the way, is you'll have one trade that says, hey, they can do this. Another trade that says, hey, I can go a lot faster. Another trade that says, hey, well, this is my configuration. Another trade that says, I just want to do everything all at once. And then another trade that could be potentially slow. This is going to extend your overall total project duration, and it's not going to be good. But the worst case here is that we have waste, right? let me also draw another distinction on the other side as well. So if you only focus on your production plan, only focus on supply, you're going to have waste in your production plan, okay? But back over here, like I said, instead of having trades work at their production rate with these inefficiency gaps, this scenario, if I was going to draw it, and I'll go ahead and draw it right here in this circle, what you're going to have is a bunch of activities that are stacked on top of each other. And when you stack, you have multiple people in one area or one trade in too many areas, and that will bring you to this overburden that will hurt your project. So we don't want to stack it and we don't want to extend it. So what should we do? Well, let me actually explain that right now. So the really good merging of both of these worlds is to say, what is the demand? Okay? The demand. Okay? And let me see if I can draw this in a way that will really land. And I'll do this with one phase, okay? Let's say that this is your demand, right? You have to start the project here and you have to finish the project here. Through the process of looking at it in a time by location format with tact planning, which is what I'm always talking about, you can take a sequence, and let's say that sequence is 2 zones, and it overruns the project, right? So you've got, the project is 2 zones, you've got 3 major activities. This is a simple example, but it overruns the project. It's not going to work, okay? Typically what would happen is a scheduler or a superintendent or pre-construction leaders would just stack, and then you would be back into this scenario, which will hurt your project, okay? And we don't want to be in this scenario where we don't meet demand. Well, through the magic of tact planning, you have multiple ways to pull this forward. Number 1, find your bottlenecks. Number 2, rezone it. Number 3, design to the work package. Number 4, implement the last planner system. And number 5, align work in progress to the capacity of resources. But let me just show you one right now for the purpose of this video. Let's say that instead of 2 zones, so 1, 2, I take that exact same amount of work and I split it up into 6 zones. So that means that each of these durations, we're only doing 1/3 of the amount of work per zone down here at the bottom. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let me do this duration right here. And then this would be the second duration, and then the third, and then the fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay, so now for this overall duration, we've got 6 zones, and then I'll take the other 2 as well. So we'll take the other 2 activities, okay, and we will make them be the same length here, and you can see that our new end date is right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zones. 1, 2, 3, a proportion. So we went from 2 zones here to 6 zones here, and look at how far forward we were able to pull that in plus buffers. This is how you're able to match the supply, meaning what we're able to do from a production standpoint, with the demand of your start and end milestones. So lean really is being able to take that target and match it. Now, let's say for instance that you did your rezoning and you still need to pull it back a little bit for one reason or another. Like I already said, you can look at what is your slowest trade, which you'll see in the diagonal, or your slowest zone in here, and you can say, hey, I need to be, instead of on a 3-day tack time, I need to be on a 2-day tack time, or the rhythm needs to be different, or something needs to be different here for me to get within the box, pull it inside the box. That's what we call it. By the way, Weston Woolsey taught me that if you pretend that your parameters are a box, you need to pull it in the box, right? If you still need to gain more time at the end, then look at your bottlenecks and ask yourself the question, what can we design differently, fabricate differently, or deliver or install differently to actually meet these durations? There's a lot of things that we can do, but don't ever, in the effort of pulling it into the box, right, don't ever pull a project forward by rushing, pushing, panicking, bringing out too many materials, adding excess labor, working overtime, or just throwing money at the problem. That's only going to make it worse, right? You align your schedule and your production plan, or your demand and your supply by using lean methodologies and pulling it inside the box. Now you have a legitimate schedule and production plan that fits within that schedule. And that's why I've stopped using the word schedule most of the time, and I'm using my production plan. But that's why they call it planning, production planning and scheduling, because you need both. That's how you really win on a project, and you don't hurt people and you don't waste time. And so I'm going to give this to you in a beautifully formatted Canva graphic. And if you ever need help with this, please reach out in the comments below. We have lots of resources that we can link you to. And actually, I'll link you to one more Canva file that shows the different, oh, and a blog post from the Lean Builder that shows you how you can accelerate your project and merge supply and demand together for a winning combination. And I hope you've enjoyed this and the resources. On we go.